Howdy! Thanks for learning about MS with me, Aaron Boster. When I was in medical school, my professor taught us MS doesn't cause pain. Spoiler alert, my professor was dead wrong. Have you ever felt like pain controls your entire life? Unfortunately, for many people impacted by MS, that's a daily reality. But you're not alone, and there are ways of taking control. Welcome to this 4-part series on pain and multiple sclerosis, entitled MS Hurts. In part 1, we discussed different kinds of pain in multiple sclerosis. In part 2, I unraveled the causes of chronic pain in MS. Now we're going to get practical. In this video, part 3, we're going to talk about how to monitor and track chronic pain. Here's a staggering statistic. Over half of people impacted by MS live with daily chronic pain. Chronic pain impacts every aspect of your life, from sleeping to working to spending time with friends and family, or just enjoying things that you love. But we're not here to just talk about it today. We're going to discuss ways of improving upon it and crushing chronic pain. Now don't turn away, because all of that starts right now. In part 1 of this series, I delved into multiple different kinds of pain seen in multiple sclerosis. If you missed that video, I'll throw a card up above so you can check it out later. Here's a quick recap. Number 1 is neuropathic pain. This is caused by damage to the central nervous system and can manifest in multiple different ways. People describe stabbing, burning, aching, crushing, freezing sensations in their face, body, arms, and legs. It can be variable in its presentation, and it can fluctuate throughout the day. Number 2 is spasticity. Over 70% of people impacted by MS experience spasticity. This is when opposing muscle groups don't play nicely in the sandbox. And when you're trying to bring your arm in like this, the tricep is still trying to extend the arm, and you have a tug of war against your own muscles. This manifests in 3 ways: spasms, painful cramps, and limbs that are hard to bend. Number 3 is mechanical pain. Now, MS doesn't directly hurt joints and soft tissue, but it can indirectly. If you have a limp, and so you walk with a hitch in your giddy-up, you're putting pressure and stress on your joints and on your soft tissue in ways they weren't invented to be used. And as a result, it's very common that people impacted by MS can develop difficulties with pain in musculoskeletal areas, lower back, hips, legs, etc. Number 4 is a doozy: headaches. People impacted by MS are twice as likely to experience migraine headaches compared to the general population. Headaches can be massively debilitating, taking you out of work and play. Number 5 is trigeminal neuralgia. The trigeminal nerve is a cranial nerve that controls sensation of your face. And when it becomes inflamed, it can cause some of the worst pain that a human being can experience. Unfortunately for people impacted by MS, they're at much higher risk of experiencing trigeminal neuralgia compared to the general population. Number 6 is occipital neuralgia. There's a nerve that comes out of the base of your skull up the back of your head, and if it gets smushed or compressed, you can have terrible pain right back there. This is oftentimes confused with migraines, but is actually a different, separate condition. Number 7 is called postherpetic neuralgia. Now, shingles is a terrible pain caused by a viral infection. And people with MS are not at higher risk of contracting shingles. However, many of the MS medicines that we use to treat the condition suppress the immune response, which does increase the risk of shingles. Now, when someone has shingles and it goes away, they can be left with residual pain, called postherpetic neuralgia. This can cause a band of pain, which is quite severe. Number 8 is optic neuritis. When the immune system attacks the optic nerve, it can cause difficulty with vision, but it also causes the nerve to swell. And when you move your eye in the eye socket, it tugs on that nerve and can cause very significant pain. Number 9 is Lermite's phenomenon. When you have a lesion in the spinal cord and you bend your neck down, you stretch the cord and cause that lesion to fire. This can give the sensation of electricity running down your back into your feet. And number 10 is the only hug you don't want, the MS hug. Lesions of the spinal cord, particularly in the thoracic spinal cord in your chest, can cause your ribs to contract and squeeze. And quite literally, you'll feel like you're being compressed or squeezed, or like you have a band wrapped around your belly, squeezing you tightly. Very, very uncomfortable, and oftentimes originally confused with a heart attack or a lung problem. Each of these chronic pain syndromes are treated differently, And make sure that you turn into the next part in this series, part 4, where we'll be discussing treatment for every single one of them. I have a question for you. How has chronic pain affected you? Can you share your story in the comment section below? You sharing your experience may help someone listening to this feel not so alone. The first step to successfully treating pain is to be able to measure it and track it. Get out a pen and paper, and I want to share with you some really excellent ways of being able to track and measure your pain. Let's jump in. I'll start by introducing the numerical rating scale. This is a scale that goes from 0 to 10, where 0 is I don't have any pain at all, and 10 is quite literally the most intense pain that you can imagine. This is a very helpful and efficient way of conveying the intensity of your pain, and it's easily trackable across time. Next, I'd like to introduce the concepts of pain intensity and pain interference. Chronic pain is rather complex, and it's insufficient to only talk about how intense something hurts. So when we use the numerical rating scale, I actually use it for both of those things. First, I ask for the numerical rating scale 0 through 10 for the intensity of the pain. Separate from that, I want you to rate 0 through 10 the interference of the pain. Pain interference isn't how much it hurts, but how much it interferes with your ability to live your life, work, do your daily activities, spend times with friends and family. Adding in pain interference is very, very useful to you to understand your pain and to your clinician. Sometimes we'll find that someone has a mild to moderate intensity of pain, let's say a 3 or 4 out of 10, but the interference is profound, a 9 out of 10. Oftentimes in the setting of chronic pain, we'll see the opposite. Someone will literally be living with 8 or 9 out of 10 pain intensity, but their interference is quite low. It's only a 1 or 2. You can see how this flushes out the conversation and gives us a much better understanding of chronic pain. Question: have you learned about pain interference and pain intensity in the past, or is this your first time hearing about it? I'd love to know your experience, and please leave your answer in the comment section below. Next, I'd like to turn our attention to pain quality. This is how you describe the way the pain feels. Oftentimes in clinic, I'll ask someone, how would you describe it to a close friend? Here are some very common types of pain quality. Sharp, sudden and intense, often feels like a knife or stabbing sensation. Dull, persistent, less intense, more often described as achy or sore. Burning, a hot searing sensation. Stabbing, intense, localized, and piercing. Throbbing, rhythmic and pulsating. Aching, a persistent, deep, and discomforting pain. Cramping, sudden, sharp muscle pain, oftentimes associated with a tight muscle contraction like a Charlie horse. Tingling, pins and needles, or an electrical sensation. Radiating, spreading from one area to another. Shooting, sudden, intense pain, often traveling along a path. Pressure-like, a feeling of heaviness or squeezing. Gnawing, persistent and nagging. Electrical, a sudden jolt, shock-like sensation. Prickling, a light needle-like pain, oftentimes associated with tingling. Piercing, a deep, focused, and sharp pain. Grinding, a rough, irritating pain. Tearing, the sensation of ripping. Cold, a freezing or chilling sensation. Squeezing, a tight, constricting sensation. Pulsating, similar to throbbing, but oftentimes more rhythmic. And itching, a maddening sensation that compels one to scratch. Question: which of the different pain characteristics best describes your pain? Leave your answer in the comments section below. When characterizing pain, it's also helpful to discuss pain localization, which refers to where the pain occurs and if it spreads. This includes terms like localized pain, where you literally can point to one specific area. Regional pain, which could involve an entire limb. Widespread pain, where a massive portion of the body is affected. It's also helpful to discuss radiation, which references if the pain seems to spread down a limb or down your side, etc. Now we're going to tie all of these different concepts together in a very, very powerful tool, a pain diary. Using a pain diary is an outstanding way not just to describe your pain, not just a way of communicating to your healthcare providers, but also an active way of taking control of your pain syndrome. I recommend you get out a pen and paper or take a screenshot of the screen and use the following information to start your pain diary. This is most powerful when you record a pain diary over serial days to weeks. This is something that allows you to track your pain syndrome. Again, I encourage you to bring this to your healthcare provider to massively improve communication and to help game out ways of making the pain better. Here's what I'd recommend you record. Number 1, pain intensity. Use that numerical rating scale 0 through 10. Number 2, pain interference. Again, rating interference 0 through 10. Number 3, pain quality. Which of the words that I described to you earlier best describes the kind of pain you're experiencing right now? Number 4, pain localization. Is it a focal pain? Is it regional? Is it diffuse? Does it radiate? Next, I would discuss the timing of pain. When during the day does it come on? When does it tend to peak? And if it subsides or wears off, when is that? Next, I would discuss triggers. Are there particular activities which tend to trigger the pain off? For example, walking quickly, laying down, sitting up, changes in weather, maybe things that you eat or drink. Next is the impact that the pain has on mood, sleep, and daily functioning. And lastly, are there treatments that you've tried and have they worked? If you're living with pain, know that you're not alone. Don't wait to take the first step. I want you to start tracking your pain using a pain diary today. And I want you to bring it to your next doctor's appointment. Show your clinicians. Collaborating with them is the best way to find strategies to thwart chronic pain. This video is part 3 in a 4-part series. The next video is super powerful, focusing on how we treat your pain. So if you're ready to learn about how to beat up on pain, click that video right now. Now, if you found this video to be helpful, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future content. Until my next Monday morning video, or my next monthly live stream, or even better yet, the next time I see you at the Boster Center for MS, this is Aaron Boster saying be safe and take care.